Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 6 Part 1 based on novel. So let's start. Nirvana stage. Lin Dong's fist slowly tightened. A frightening strength rippled within his body. He could sense that by just relying on his current strength, it was already sufficient to fight with Shakuan. The millions of Nirvana pills worth of Nirvana chi was not a trifle matter. However, this was not the level which he had hoped for. He had previously said that once he had advanced to the Nirvana stage, he would attack the feared Nirvana tribulation. Little Martin clearly seemed to have understood something when it saw the wild and heated expression that was suddenly revealed on Lin Dong's face. Its body immediately withdrew quickly. Nirvana tribulation. Let me see just how frightening you are. Lin Dong's eyes were wild and hot. A low roar sounded as a thought passed through his mind. Bright golden glow abruptly erupted from within his body. After which, a frightening ripple swiftly spread out from within Lin Dong's body. Under this frightening ripple, Lin Dong's body suddenly trembled despite its strength. A little white smoke rose from his skin. Little Martin retreated to a far distance. It clicked its mouth as it looked at the bright redness that appeared on Lin Dong's skin. It knew that the interior of the latter's body was already currently in complete chaos. Bang bang. While little Martin was withdrawing and preparing to watch how Lin Dong would endure this Nirvana tribulation, its expression suddenly changed. It abruptly raised its head. At this moment, dark clouds had suddenly gathered in the sky above this training platform. This is Heaven's Symbol Master's Wind Lightning Tribulation. Little Martin's eyes suddenly shrunk as it looked at the dark clouds and lightning being slowly gathered. Clearly, it did not expect that the wind lightning tribulation of the Heaven Symbol Master had actually arrived concurrently with the Nirvana tribulation. Nirvana practitioners are divided into 9 stages, while Heavenly Symbol Masters are split into 10 seals. Nirvana stage practitioners have something that they fear just like a fearsome tiger, yet have no choice but to attempt it, Nirvana tribulation. For Heavenly Symbol Masters, there is something similar that they love and fear at the same time, that is the wind lightning trial. Mental energy intrinsically possess the ability to manipulate the heavens. Therefore, after one advances to Heavenly Symbol Master, once one's mental energy reaches a certain level, it will invoke the wind lightning trial. This was a powerful energy source formed from wind and lightning. Once the wind lightning trial materializes, the person undergoing the trial will have his mental energy involuntarily sucked out, before it will be cleansed by that wind and lightning. If one is able to survive, one's mental energy would naturally become much more powerful and solidified. However, if one fails to survive, the instant one's mental energy has been dispersed by that wind and lightning, the consequences would be as severe as that of a failed Nirvana tribulation. Nirvana tribulation and wind lightning trail arriving at the same time. The way this kid does things is really different from everyone else. Little Martin stared at that wind lightning trial that was materializing, before it glanced at Lin Dong, who had now shut his eyes and was trying to withstand the Nirvana tribulation. Following which, it involuntarily chuckled with a slightly gloating expression. Little Martin is extremely well experienced, and this is not the first time he had met a person like Lin Dong, who trained in both mental energy and yuan power. Typically speaking, most of them would try to avoid undergoing both trials together. That was because these two trials, one came from within, while the other came from outside. Due to this dual-pronged attack, it was extremely easy for a mishap to occur. The consequences caused by a mishap was naturally extremely severe. If one was negligent, it would not be a surprise for one to self-destruct. In the middle of the cultivation stage, the Nirvana tribulation within his body had evidently erupted forth. Furthermore, Lin Dong could see that the instant the wind lightning trail appeared, Lin Dong's panicked for a moment, before he quickly stabilized himself. Is Big Brother alright? Right now, Little Flame, who was training beside him, opened up his eyes, before he started worryingly at this sight and asked. Don't worry. Even though it is a little troubling to have both trials occurring at the same time, this kid is not simpleton. He won't perish so easily. Little Martin casually replied. Little Flame gently nodded his head. With regards to Lin Dong, he had full confidence in him. After all, over all these years, regardless of what opponents they faced, the one who had the final laugh was always the insignificant-looking Lin Dong. How much progress have you made on the Heavenly Devil God transformation? Little Martin looked at Little Flame, before it suddenly asked. I have already mastered the first act. This martial arts is extremely powerful. Little Flame scratched his head. The more he practiced this heavenly devil-god transformation, the more he realized how extraordinary this martial arts is. So you mastered the first act? Little Martin lifted its eyebrows before it spoke without any expression on its face. However, currently, it felt shocked inside its heart. That was because it was completely aware of the full caliber of the martial arts heavenly devil-god transformation. Even in the Heavenly Devil Tiger clan, it was considered as top tier. In the Heavenly Devil Tiger clan, even those clansmen who possessed pure Heavenly Devil Tiger bloodline had to expend a huge amount of effort in order to master the Heavenly Devil God transformation. However, right now, Little Flame had managed to master the first act within a month's time. If the Heavenly Devil Tiger clan knew about his progress, it would surely lead to a major commotion. Indeed, a rare mutated physical body, Little Martin muttered to himself while he sighed. Meanwhile, it became increasingly expectant of Little Flame's future progress. Boom! Boom! Just as Little Martin and Little Flame conversed, the rain clouds in mid-air had already materialized. While thunder rumbled, a peculiar suction force suddenly erupted forth. Thanks to this suction force, Little Martin and Little Flame instantly saw a glowing beam suddenly explode from Lin Dong's Niwen Palace. Following which, an illusionary figure suddenly arose before it hovered above Lin Dong's head. This illusory figure was naturally Lin Dong's mental energy body. Right now, he lifted his head before he glanced helplessly at the rain clouds. Following which, he looked down below him. Currently, his body was completely red and it seemed like he was about to explode in flames. At the same time, terrifying shockwaves continuously emerged from his body. Kid, you are truly unfortunate. Now that your mental energy body has been dragged out, how are you going to handle the nirvana tribulation within your body? Little Martin stared at Lin Dong's mental energy body, which had been forcefully ripped out from his body, before it asked with a gloating smile. Lin Dong gently smiled and he did not panic. Instead, he calmly said, "This nirvana tribulation does not seem to present much of a threat towards me." Oh. Little Martin was a little shocked. Evidently, he did not know where Lin Dong's confidence came from. Since his mental energy body has been forcefully dragged out of his body was no longer under his control. Therefore, how could he withstand the nirvana tribulation that was about to erupt? Little Martin's doubts were quickly resolved when he saw a warm white glow spreading out from Lin Dong's heart. That white glow was refreshing and gentle, yet it was extremely magical. Once that white glow spread out, Lin Dong's red-hot body that was about to burst into flames quickly recovered some of its usual color. Is that the mysterious stone talisman? When he saw that familiar white glow, Little Martin was stunned for a moment, before he asked in shock. Yes. Lin Dong nodded his head. The mysterious stone talisman is extremely magical, and with it protecting his body, no matter how savage the nirvana tribulation is, it would not be able to destroy him. As such, he had sufficient time to handle the wind lightning trial. Wah! In mid-air, rain clouds squirmed. In the next instant, a grayish-silver lightning bolt carrying a tinge of wind lightning energy suddenly ripped across the sky, before it violently struck against Lin Dong's mental energy body. Rumble. A deep exploding noise erupted from Lin Dong's mental energy body. Immediately, he saw lightning sparks crackling on his illusionary body. Even if two trials came together, they can do nothing to me. Lightning glow flowed over his whole body. While he was being sandwiched by these two major trials, the burning glint in his Lin Dong's eyes intensified. At the same time, the vigor in his heart surged as he gripped his palm. Promptly, a powerful devouring force erupted forth and wrapped itself around the lightning sparks that was corroding his mental energy body. Instantly, all of them were forcefully sucked into this mental energy body. As such, it caused his mental energy body to become increasingly solidified. Devouring ancestral symbol, appear now. Lin Dong took a step forward, before a dark hole-like ancestral symbol directly floated out from his forehead, before it slowly squirmed. Meanwhile, it gave off a terrifying devouring force. Boom! Boom! The storm cloud seemed to have been agitated by Lin Dong's greed. As the storm clouds rumbled, lightning bolts that were formed from wind lightning energy continuously rained down, before they viciously struck Lin Dong's mental energy body. As he faced those vicious lightning strikes, Lin Dong did not show any signs of retreating. Instead, he directly stretched out his arms before he allowed those lightning bolts to strike his body. Bang! Bang! Lin Dong's mental energy body was continuously forced back due to those thunderbolts. Streams of resplendent lightning glow sparkled on his body. That savage force was powerful enough to destroy a heavenly symbol master's mental energy. Devour it. If he was an ordinary heavenly symbol master, he naturally would not dare to use his physical body to forcefully withstand these thunderbolts. However, Lin Dong had the devouring ancestral symbol and he had no reason to fear. As he laughed heartily towards the sky, the devouring ancestral symbol that was located out of his forehead began to squirm quickly. Meanwhile, an all-encompassing devouring force spread out, before all the lightning sparks on Lin Dong's body began to disappear at an alarming rate. Evidently, he had directly devoured all of them. Thanks to his devouring force, Lin Dong's mental energy body quickly became solidified. Meanwhile, the mental energy vibrations became increasingly stronger. Below him, when Little Martin and Little Flame saw this sight, they involuntarily marveled him in their hearts. This Nirvana tribulation and wind lightning trial that was extremely terrifying for any ordinary individual did not seem to pose any threat towards Lin Dong. Right now, Lin Dong had the mysterious stone talisman guarding his body. That object is extremely mysterious and even Little Martin acknowledged it. With it around, the Nirvana tribulation could not destroy Lin Dong. With regards to the wind lightning trial, even though they did not know about the future, it seems like the first wind lightning trial could not handle the godly devouring ancestral symbol. Since Lin Dong possessed both the mysterious stone talisman and the devouring ancestral symbol, he could naturally handle the terrifying Nirvana tribulation and wind lightning trial. In this world, there are only a few individuals who can survive both trials so easily. Little Martin shook his head regretfully. If other Nirvana stage practitioners and Heavenly Symbol Master saw how Lin Dong easily handled these terrifying trials, they would probably implode in jealousy. Standing aside, Little Flame also nodded his head. After all, godly objects like the mysterious stone talisman and devouring ancestral symbol could not be possessed any ordinary individuals. All we have to do now is wait for him to finish both trials. What a boring show. I thought that I could see him panicking. Little Martin stretched his body. Originally, he thought that he would witness a much more thrilling show. However, the outcome turned out to be so disappointing. Little Flame chuckled, before he sat down. Following which, he lifted his head before he stared at Lin Dong, who was now devouring thunderbolts. While the two of them watched on, within the cultivation stage, thunder rumbled while burning waves arose. However, it seemed like that figure within was undergoing a metamorphosis, as he became increasingly powerful at a terrifying rate. The Nirvana tribulation and wind lightning tribulation continued for nearly half a day. Thunder boomed as waves of heat rippled from Lin Dong's body, causing the training platform to become extremely hot. Even the Nirvana chi that permeated the place turned increasingly violent as a result. The simultaneous arrival of these two types of great tribulations could indeed be considered an unfortunate and fatal matter to an ordinary practitioner. However, for Lin Dong, who possessed the mysterious stone talisman and the devouring ancestral symbol, it was merely an opportunity to greatly advance his strength. Although Lin Dong still suffered a little because of the simultaneous arrival of the two tribulations, it was completely insignificant compared to the subsequent explosion in power. Hence, as the sky gradually darkened, the wild undulations within the crimson barrier quietly weakened. In the end, they completely disappeared. Lin Dong's body was quietly seated at the center of the training platform. At this moment, the golden glow on his body was completely concealed. Similarly, the wild and powerful aura from earlier had also accompanied the golden light and quietly hid itself deep within Lin Dong's body. From the Lin Dong's gradually recovering skin color as well as the now calm atmosphere, it was clear that Lin Dong had already successfully overcome the Nirvana tribulation and the wind lightning tribulation. Kai? Lin Dong's tightly shut eyes suddenly opened. All of a sudden, lightning and wind flashed past. The air in front of Lin Dong had also exploded in that instant, unleashing a low ear-piercing blast. Creak. Lin Dong's fist was slowly tightened. As his muscles tensed, a strength that was several times stronger than before seeped out from every part of his body like oozing water from a sponge. Lin Dong's fist clenched as he threw out a punch. Bang! The invisible air agglomerated under Lin Dong's fist in a flash, compressing itself into an invisible air cannonball that whizzed out. It forcefully smashed into the bright red barrier of light, causing tiny ripples to spread outwards. If an ordinary Nirvana stage expert were to receive this punch, he would be at minimum seriously injured. A thought passed through Lin Dong's mind as his fist was thrown out. Majestic mental energy instantaneously gathered around him, moving his body to stand in mid-air. Lin Dong's hand widened a little. By relying on his powerful mental energy, he was able to sense the unceasing amount of Nirvana chi that was surging in from outside of the crimson light barrier. He was even able to penetrate through the crimson light barrier and view everything outside of the Pill River in his mind. At the same time, he naturally discovered Wang Lai and the others who were watching from outside of the training platform with ill intent. Immediately, the corners of Lin Dong's mouth gradually lifted to form a cold smile. "Have you successfully passed?" Little Martin and Little Flame cast a somewhat joyful gaze at Lin Dong. Although they were already aware of the answer, they still could not help but ask. "Yeah." Lin Dong gently smiled and nodded. He could feel that his current strength really could not be compared with the strength he had previously. The One Yuan Nirvana stage practitioners, whom he was originally a little afraid of, no longer posed any threat towards him. The result obtained from the accumulation of his careful preparation this time had clearly far exceeded Lin Dong's expectations. The current him already possessed the confidence to fight those truly strong practitioners of the ancient battlefield. It would not be easy for even the mysterious and extremely strong Yang Sen from earlier to do as he pleased to Lin Dong, though Lin Dong admittedly did not have absolute confidence in defeating the former. This was the confidence brought about by strength. "Let's go, the training here has come to an end. It is also time to completely resolve some minor troubles." Lin Dong landed on the platform and smiled at Little Martin and Little Flame. The smile was filled with an chilling aura. When his mental energy had spread out earlier, he had already become aware of the Wang Lai group's actions. Lin Dong was a person who would not offend others unless others offended him first. Since the other party had already schemed against him, it was naturally illogical for him to just sit back and ignore this matter. When they heard his words, Little Martins and Little Flames looked towards the outside of the bright red barrier. As if they had suddenly understood something, they immediately nodded their heads slowly. Wang Lai and a large group of people were hovering in the midair at the edge of the Pill River. Their gazes were focused intently on a vaguely visible training platform covered by Nirvana Chi while impatience and viciousness flickered in their eyes. Does that Lin Dong really intend to train inside until this domain closes? The gaunt-faced Chen Kuan stared at the training platform with a dark and shadowy expression. His voice was already tinged with slight impatience. He had already waited for 2 days in this place. If this occurred during some ordinary time, they would not be concerned. However, this was the ancient treasure trove. Everyone was going all out to search for treasures. Yet, they were so bitterly wasting their time here. Regardless of who it was, one would be quite unhappy in this situation. The crowd nodded in agreement at this statement. The past 2 days of waiting had eroded the little patience most of them had. "Brother Chen Ku, there is no need to be anxious. According to my information, the defensive formation of the training platform will not last for long and will automatically scatter after 5 days. This fellow won't be able to hide for long," Wang Lai hurriedly said when he saw everyone's impatience. "Moreover, as long as we capture that brat, we will obtain the soul puppet in his possession. Spending a little time for such a prize should be quite worthwhile." "Cuckoo, that's right. Additionally, won't this training platform be ours once we finish off that brat? At that time, won't all our losses be made up by training inside?" Zheng Heizhu also laughed in a seemingly simple and honest manner. However, a cunning and vicious expression flashed deep within his eyes. "Humph. In that case, we shall wait a little longer. That brat is really patient and is practically a tortoise. Once we capture him, I will let him have a good taste of my methods." Chen Ku's expression became a little relaxed after hearing the words of the other two before he finally declared. "Sure, anything Brother Chen Ku says. When we capture that brat, you can decide how to deal with him." Wang Lai's lips cracked open into a smile while a sinister light flickered in his eyes. Chen Ku nodded. Just as he closed his eyes to wait, his expression suddenly changed drastically. He suddenly turned towards the crimson barrier and smiled viciously. Is he finally planning to come out? "Oh." Wang Lai and Zheng Heizhu suddenly became alert when they heard these words as their gazes hurriedly shifted towards the light barrier. Sure enough, they were indeed able to see that the light barrier that covering the training platform was becoming fainter at a rate visible to the naked eye. "Ha ha, this brat is finally unable to wait no longer." Wang Lai involuntarily laughed at the sky when he saw this. The experts from the Sky Eagle Empire behind him also revealed excited expressions. They had waited here for a long time in order to finish Lin Dong off. Currently, there were quite a number of people waiting around this area. Every single training platform on the Pill River was being eyed by quite a number of people, and this place was no exception. However, the Sky Eagle Empire and two other high-rank empires had currently taken fancy to this place. Despite their desire, others knew that their chances of success would not be great even if they attacked. Hence, they had remained in this place merely to watch the show and to see if they had any opportunity to gain from the conflict. Over the past 2 days, they were clearly aware that Wang Lai's group was waiting in this place for Lin Dong to emerge and had also heard of Lin Dong's name. Their first impression of this fellow was that he was really a troublemaker. Having recently offended the Devil Cliff Empire, he had now once again offended another similarly powerful empire, the Sky Eagle Empire, mere moments after entering the ancient treasure trove. Now, the Sky Eagle Empire had gathered its allies and quite a number of renowned experts. Clearly, they did not intend to give Lin Dong the opportunity to flee. Hence, everyone understood that the moment Lin Dong left the training platform he would likely meet his demise in this Pearl River. It was due to this that an expression of pity was revealed in their eyes as they watched the crimson light barrier gradually fade away. "Cuckoo, what are you all so happy about? Why not tell me and let me laugh about it with all of you?" The crimson light barrier became increasingly faint. A moment later, it finally disappeared. 2 figures appeared before everyone's eyes. Meanwhile, a soft laughter echoed from the training platform. "You will know immediately whether you should laugh or cry. Lin Dong, this Pearl River will be the place where you die today." A fierce glow surged in Wang Lai's eyes as he stared intently at the figures that had appeared from behind the crimson light barrier. In that instant, he could faintly sense that there was something different about these 2 figures compared to 2 days ago. However, this was only a fleeting feeling which he did bother investigating. No matter what, the men from their 3 high-ranked empires were all gathered here today. Moreover, there were 3 genuine One Yuan Nirvana stage practitioners present. In the face of such a lineup, it was likely that Lin Dong would have difficulty escaping death even if he was superhuman. "Brother Chen Ku, Brother He Shu, let's attack." Wang Lai released a stern cry, as though he was afraid that Lin Dong would turn around and flee. He did not give Lin Dong any time to reply as he charged forward. "Heh, brat. We have waited so long. Obediently hand over the soul puppet of yours." Chen Ku's gaze was filled with greed as he stared at Lin Dong. His already impatient self had rushed out the instant Wang Lai's voice sounded out. Powerful mental power gathered and whistled around his body. The last person was the seemingly simple and honest Zheng Heishu. He was cautious by nature, and thus, even at such a moment, he would not be charging at the front lines. His many years of experience had caused him to vaguely feel a little uneasy. However, this kind of feeling was similarly not investigated too deeply by Zheng Heishu. One reason was that there was no time while another was. This lineup of theirs was indeed rather overwhelming. Although he did not dare to declare that there was no risk at all, they had a 90% chance of finishing Lin Dong off. Hence, Zheng Heishu shook his head and tossed aside the little bit of unease he had felt. He chuckled sinisterly before rushing out in front of the many pitying gazes that were directed at Lin Dong. 3 powerful One Yuan Nirvana stage practitioners were attacking at the same time. Everyone understood what this meant. Perhaps, from today forth, Lin Dong, who already possessed some fame within the northwestern region, would disappear in this ancient battlefield. In the future, no one would remember the brightness that he had once shined with. After all, this world was the stage of the strong. A loser could only completely fade from this world along with the flow of time. 3 figures rushed through the air like ghosts as waves of abnormally vigorous undulations burst out from within their bodies. In the face of such undulations, even the thick nirvana chi around the training platform was slightly scattered. The simultaneous attack of 3 One Yuan Nirvana experts was exceedingly powerful. Clearly, the Wang Lai trio were inwardly not completely unafraid of Lin Dong. Moreover, Wang Lai had also personally tasted the terrible might of Lin Dong's devouring world previously. If they were to be trapped within, their battle power would fall drastically. Hence, trio went all out in their attack, the Yuan power within their bodies pushed to the maximum output. Evidently, they were planning to finish off Lin Dong instantly. Clang! Behind Lin Dong, a fierce glow flashed across Little Flame's eyes when he saw the 3 people charging at Lin Dong in a torrential manner. The black metal rod in his hand smashed heavily onto the ground as the scales all over it rippled and flickered with a chilling light. There is no need to intervene. However, just as Little Flame was preparing to move, Lin Dong smiled and waved his hand before slowly stepping forward under the crowd's watching eyes. Is this fellow actually thinking of relying on his own strength alone to deal with 3 One Yuan Nirvana stage experts? His boldness is truly so great that it could cover the heavens. When he was at the ancient hall, he was only able to end up in a draw against Shi Xian despite having used all his power. Each of these three individuals here now are stronger than Shi Xian. It is hard to say. Ever since I first heard of this fellow, his actions have always been really difficult to understand with common sense. Who knows if he has some other tactics this time? This seemingly arrogant action of Lin Dong had undoubtedly given rise to some private conversations around the Pill River. Many of those present had heard of Lin Dong's strength, and it was due to this that they felt surprised that Lin Dong had been able to contend against the Devil Cliff Empire. Yet, it was not just a single person who was attacking now. Instead, there were three genuine One Yuan Nirvana stage experts. Similarly, the attacking Wang Lai was momentarily stunned by Lin Dong's actions, but soon after, a wild joy revealed itself on his face. If Lin Dong were to allow Little Flame to intervene, he would perhaps have to struggle for a while. However, this fellow had actually voluntarily stepped forward by himself. It was clear as day that he intended to face the three of them alone. Kill him. Chen Ku let out a low roar as a viciousness look flashed across his sinister face. It would be a waste not to take up such an opportunity after it had been delivered right to their doorstep. However, the skeptical Zheng Heizhu reacted differently from the others. His eyes flickered intensely as the slight trace of unease that had originally vaguely existed in his heart seemed to rapidly grow. His eyes were firmly fixed onto the slowly advancing Lin Dong. The latter's face did not show even the slightest bit of panic due to their attack. Instead, there was a somewhat eager expression on it. Sky Eagle Mountain Shattering Claw. Dark Demonic Corpse Howl. Wang Lai and Chen Ku had already unleashed their extremely powerful martial art killing moves with fiendish looks on their faces while thoughts flashed across Zheng Heizhu's mind. Immediately, wild and violent Yuan power abruptly swept outwards above the Pill River. He is but a brat from a low-ranked empire. What is there to be afraid of? There was already no way to back out at this juncture. Zheng Heizhu's eyes suddenly turned cold as he gritted his teeth while Yuan power gushed out from within his body. Tyrant bear of the barons. Zheng Heizhu obviously did not show any mercy when he attacked, directly unleashing the strongest martial art he knew. His fist shot out as formidable Yuan power agglomerated into an enormous ancient bear that roared at the sky. With an incomparably ferocious fist aura, it ruthlessly charged at Lin Dong. Boom boom. In the blink of an eye, the full force of 3 One Yuan Nirvana stage experts arrived in front of Lin Dong. With such a level of Yuan power blocking his path, the current Lin Dong would find it difficult to retreat even if he wanted to. Lin Dong raised his head and gazed at the incoming attack that gave off a great pressure. However, he smiled. A thought passed through his mind as the surging Yuan power that was previously being suppressed within his body completely erupted. Boom! Formidable Yuan power whizzed around Lin Dong's body. Those undulations were not weaker than any one of the Wang Lai trio. 1 Yuan Nirvana stage. The undulations that had suddenly erupted directly caused a series of exclamations to explode around the Nirvana River. Even the pupils of the Wang Lai trio abruptly shrunk, rich disbelief within them. They clearly knew that Lin Dong's Yuan power was merely at the half-step to Nirvana stage 2 days ago. In their eyes, the only thing that Lin Dong could use was likely his Heaven Symbol Master's mental energy. Yet, the current situation before their eyes was vastly different from what they knew. Do not panic. Even if this brat was truly at the 1 Yuan Nirvana stage long ago, he will not be able to withstand the three of us. Wang Lai's eyes swiftly swept over Chen Ku and Zheng Heizhu and hurriedly cried out when he saw the unease and panic on their faces. If they did not eliminate such an enemy as soon as possible, they would definitely have difficulty sleeping at night. You have truly overestimated yourselves. Lin Dong softly chuckled in response to Wang Lai's cry. When he was at the mere half-step to Nirvana stage, he had been able to defeat a genuine Nirvana expert. Moreover, the strength of the current him had already truly soared. Although he was facing off against 3 opponents, there was no difference from Lin Dong's point of view. A dazzling array of seals were repeatedly formed one after another at Lin Dong's hands. In the next instant, his expression suddenly turned to one of concentration. Surging Yuan power suddenly screamed out from within his body, directly transforming into 5 enormous light pillars that shot towards the clouds. The light pillars condensed themselves, forming 5 enormous ancient fingers in an instant. Waves of heart-palpitating undulations repeatedly rippled from the 5 fingers. Great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger, unleashing 5 fingers, imprisoning the world. As Lin Dong's strength rose, he was now able to completely unleash the great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger at will. Boom! 5 fingers that had formed screamed down as the air below them exploded. Even the Pill River below was affected, causing numerous enormous whirlpools to emerge. The 5 titanic ancient fingers came whistling down before the crowd's shaken gazes. In a flash, it collided head-on with the Wang Lai trio's attacks. Break! Lin Dong's eyes instantly turned frosty the moment the collision occurred. An ice-cold voice softly echoed from his mouth. Boom boom. Wild and violent energy ripples crazily unfurled. Immediately, shocked expressions surfaced to replace the ominous looks on the Wang Lai trio's faces. The reason for this was because the martial art killing moves that they were extremely proud of showed signs of crumbling under the 5 ancient fingers' attack. In the span of a few short breaths, the trio's attacks completely scattered in the sky. 5 enormous ancient fingers directly smashed through their attacks in a seemingly unstoppable manner while crushing the confidence that remained in their hearts. Only at this moment did they feel the sensation of cold sweat on their backs. There was a world of difference between the Lin Dong before them and the one from 2 days ago. Bang! Thick horror suddenly gushed up in their eyes, but the enormous ancient fingers had already smashed heavily into their bodies like meteorites falling from the sky. Ugh! 3 human figures shot backwards like broken kites while emitting a series groans as 3 mouthfuls of blood were wildly spat out. Finally, they landed at the edge of the Pill River in an extremely miserable manner. They had been defeated by a single move. There was no initial warm-up. Both parties had used their strongest killing moves at the very first moment. The result, however, had exceeded everyone's expectations. The area around the Pill River was completely silent. Everyone was shocked at the scene before their eyes. Defeating the combined attacks of 3 1-yuan Nirvana stage experts with a single attack. Just what kind of tactic was this? Only those practitioners who had endured the second Nirvana tribulation would able to achieve this. Yet, it was actually achieved by this Lin Dong who was a mere half-step to Nirvana stage practitioner 2 days ago. Kai? Lin Dong's figure rushed forward while the entire place was silent. He closed his hand as the eerie white heavenly crocodile bone spear flashed and appeared. Immediately, the tip of the spear was raised. It carried a chilling light as it mercilessly thrust at the fatal points on the bodies of the Wang Lai trio. Lin Dong would not show any mercy towards his enemies. Once he attacked, he would completely eliminate all trouble. An intensely cold killing intent spread out from Lin Dong's body, causing the hearts of quite a number of people to constrict. The Wang Lai trio's faces turned even paler when they saw Lin Dong rushing over with rising killing intent. Wang Lai hurriedly raised his head and looked around as he cried out, "Brother Shakuan, are you still not going to act?" Rumble. Before Wang Lai's cry could fade, an unusually fierce and formidable yuan power accompanied by thick killing intent suddenly swept over. Lin Dong's pupils shrunk abruptly at this moment as the bone spear in his hand explosively pierced outwards, the sharp spear directly splitting the wild and violent yuan power. After which, Lin Dong slowly lifted his head and looked towards a spot nearby. Has Shakuan finally passed through the second Nirvana tribulation? Everyone around the Pill River, the crowds who were dazzled by Lin Dong's abrupt surge in strength, also became shocked at this suddenly seen. After which, they seemed to have recalled something and their gazes openly turned towards the sky in the distance. They could hear the loud sound of wind being torn apart at that spot and vaguely sensed a formidable yuan power fluctuation spreading over in a mighty fashion. It's the Devil Cliff Empire. I heard that Shakuan has finally survived the second Nirvana tribulation. He is really outstanding. The 2 yuan Nirvana stage can be considered a top-tier existence even in the entire northwestern region. This Shakuan is indeed worthy of being a genius of the Devil Cliff Empire. We will truly be able to witness a good show today. Although Shakuan has endured the second Nirvana stage, Lin Dong is no ordinary individual. No one knows just who will win if they fight. That's right. With the increasing intensity of the sound of wind being torn apart, a large group of men finally appeared in front of everyone's sight. The surroundings of the Pill River also immediately emitted waves after waves of noise upon seeing the arrival of these people. Swoosh swoosh. Numerous figures rushed over in a lightning-like manner before they finally hovered beside the Pill River. The one leading them was wearing black clothes and he had a chilly expression. Who else could it be other than Shakuan? The current Shakuan was clearly much stronger as compared to a couple of days ago. A forceful yuan power repeatedly spread from within his body. Even the space itself had fluctuated slightly. A golden glow was partially visible on his body. That was the indication that his Nirvana golden body had become even stronger. Clearly, Shakuan had genuinely endured through the second Nirvana stage during these past few days. Shakuan's dark and cold gaze, which carried a killing intent, was directed towards Lin Dong the moment he appeared. After which, a slight dullness appeared in his eyes before they shrunk for a moment. Clearly, he had similarly sensed the sudden rise in Lin Dong's strength. I never expected that you have already broken through to the Nirvana stage and endured through one Nirvana tribulation within these short 2 days' time. Shakuan's eyes shadily stared at Lin Dong while he slowly spoke. The faces of Shakuan and the others behind Shakuan changed with surprise when they heard Shakuan's words. All of them glared at Lin Dong as if they had seen a ghost. This was especially true for Shakuan. He genuinely had difficulty believing that Lin Dong, who could only rely on some special tricks to fight with him, would actually catch up with him within 2 short days and even showed signs of vaguely surpassed him. I am also quite surprised that you are able to survive the second Nirvana tribulation within these 2 days. The heavenly crocodile bone spear in Lin Dong's hand was pointed towards the ground, while a sharp spear's glow was being emitted and withdrawn from it. Lin Dong grinned as he eyed Shakuan. He was indeed a little surprised. Originally, he had thought that his speed was already sufficiently rapid. Unexpectedly, Shakuan was also not slower than him. It seemed as if that fellow did indeed possess the qualification to survive through the second Nirvana tribulation as rumored. However, he simply did not dare to randomly do so for safety's sake. If I do not finish off you with my enemy, I will end up having difficulties eating and sleeping in peace. Shakuan parted the corner of his mouth and revealed his densely white teeth. Those words which he uttered contained a murderous intent that was not the least bit concealed. However, Shakuan also felt fearful of Lin Dong. Clearly, the latter's quick rise in strength had caused him to sense a danger. He understood that if he did not eliminate this problem as soon as possible, it was likely that the position between the two of them would end up changing. Likewise, Lin Dong smiled. His smile similarly contained a dense killing intent that was not the least bit hidden. Since Shakuan wanted to kill him immediately, why wouldn't he want to return the favor? The people around understood within their hearts that there was no room for any negotiation when they heard the conversation between the two of them. Both of them were filled with murderous intent towards each other. From the looks of it, the face-off today would definitely not end in a peaceful manner. A tense aura quietly spread over the both of them. At this moment, Wang Lai and the others had already hurriedly moved away in a miserable fashion. Their eyes were filled with shock and uncertainty as they locked onto Lin Dong. A trace of horror still remained within the eyes of Chen Ku and Zheng Heizhu. Clearly, they had been greatly shaken by Lin Dong's earlier attack. They knew that Lin Dong truly possessed the ability to finish them off. While the eyes of the two flashed, an intent to retreat had already formed within them. They definitely did not dare to attack once again before the fight between Lin Dong and Shakuan ended. After all, they did not have a big grudge with Lin Dong. The reason that they had promised Wang Lai to intervene was because they desired the treasure Lin Dong possessed. However, the strength that Lin Dong currently displayed had already erased the greed within them. Therefore, when Wang Lai saw that their eyes were filled with uncertainty and resentment, he quietly cursed these two cowards immediately. Although he cursed in his heart, Wang Lai also swallowed a mouthful of saliva when he turned to look at Shakuan and Lin Dong. Right now, he no longer dared to simply attack. Although your improvement had surprised me greatly, there will only be one ending for you today. An extremely powerful Yuan power lingered around Shakuan while he looked down at Lin Dong from above. His tone was filled with confidence and pride. He clearly understood just how powerful he was after having survived the second Nirvana tribulation. The current him already possessed some qualifications to step into the Nirvana ranking. Even within the entire ancient battlefield, he could be considered an outstanding existence. Hence, there was currently still a great gap between Lin Dong and him. Lin Dong merely revealed a teasing grin when he saw Shakuan's confident expression. After all, he was too lazy to utter any unnecessary words. His hand was gently extended and he spoke indifferent, "Let's fight. Allow me to witness your confidence. You will regret it." Shakuan's eyes were dark like a poisonous snake as he stared right at Lin Dong. Immediately, a ferocious expression flashed across his face. His body moved and a glaring bright golden glow suddenly erupted from within his body. At the next instant, he had already appeared in front of Lin Dong in a ghost-like manner. His entire arm appeared to have been casted from real gold. It flickered and emitted an all-conquering aura. Bang! A punch was thrown forth, while the air within a dozen meters radius seemed to have been compressed under Shakuan's fist. Golden-colored and violent Yuan power ferociously smashed towards Lin Dong like a great wave. Kai? A similarly bright golden glow also spread over Lin Dong's body at the same time. Although Lin Dong had only undergone one Nirvana tribulation, he was confident that he would not be much weaker when compared with Shakuan in this aspect, since he had an extremely strong foundation. Hence, he did not do anything else, other than clenching his fist and throwing a punch in an ordinary fashion. Boom! The two golden fists collided violently in mid-air. Soon after, a low and deep muffled sound also spread. After which, an extremely wild hurricane-like ripple directly swept out from the two fists in insane manner. Even the nirvana chi that was permeating in the Pill River below was forcefully scattered for a couple of 100 meters. The fists parted upon contact and the two of them violently retreated backwards. The air itself emitted some explosive sound each time their feet landed. Quite a number of people were stunned upon seeing that Lin Dong did not end up in much of a disadvantage in a head-on collision that relied purely on strength. Not bad. However, I want to see if this body of yours dare to resist my life demon blade. Shakuan's eyes also narrowed. He now no longer dared to underestimate him. As he clenched his fist, a golden glow flashed. Immediately, the glow transformed into a golden-colored broadsword. A cold glow was surging on the broadsword. Clearly, this was quite a strong earthly soul treasure. Shua shua. Shakuan stomped his feet and the golden blade in his hand immediately danced, forming numerous golden-colored blade glow. The moment these glow appeared, it carried an incomparably sharp wind that swamped Lin Dong from every directions. Any of these blade glow was powerful enough to easily hack a Nirvana stage expert apart. Moreover, given their numbers, even a 1 yuan Nirvana stage would not dare to underestimate it. Lin Dong, who was swamped by the golden-colored blade glow, narrowed his eyes. His hand gripped his heavenly crocodile bone spear tightly, as powerful mental energy quietly spread out, absorbing all the movement of the countless number of blade glow into his eyes. In the next instant, Lin Dong's body suddenly moved. One could see his feet gently tapping against the air before his body actually rushed towards the blade glows that permeated the sky. Swoosh! An after-image flashed past the eyes of countless number of people. In the face of the sharp blade glow that came from every directions, the figure seemed to be like a boat amidst powerful waves. Although it rose and fell unsteadily, it did not show any signs of capsizing. All the sharp blade glow merely narrowly flew past Lin Dong's body under the seemingly Merkle-level perception of Lin Dong's mental energy. The heavenly crocodile bone spear in Lin Dong's hand suddenly emitted a little bright cold glow at this instance. The cold glow agglomerated and the yuan power around Lin Dong were gathered on this point, which was extremely sharp. Kai? Lin Dong's was expressionless as the permeating blade glow in front of him had finally scattered. Immediately, a formidable glint lit up in Lin Dong's eyes. As he raised his arm, the golden light quickly spread out. As he jutted his arm, he quickly tore through the air with a frightening speed and attacked Shakuan's forehead in a ruthless manner. Shakuan's eyes also shrunk suddenly. Clearly, he did not expect that Lin Dong would actually be able to dodge his attack in this manner and appear in front of him. Golden body barrier. Though that sharp cold glow had not touched his forehead, it had already left a red dot on Shakuan's forehead. In the next instant, a gold-like circular halo suddenly emerged from within Shakuan's body. This sight looked as if there was a powerful barrier protecting his entire body. Ding! Lin Dong's heavenly crocodile bone spear heavily slammed onto the golden light barrier. However, it simply emitted some sparks. The clear sound seemed to indicate that the spear was piercing onto a metal. Haha, Lin Dong, as long as one endured past the second Nirvana tribulation, one will be able to release the Nirvana golden body around oneself and form a barrier. You are unable to destroy my golden body barrier. Shakuan involuntarily laughed heartily towards the sky, when he saw that Lin Dong's attack had been firmly blocked by his golden light barrier. His eyes suddenly turned icy cold as his voice seemed to rise from hell. It was so densely cold that it was terrifying. Don't think that you are the only one who possess a high-grade manifestation martial art. Today, I will let you see my Devil Cliff Empire's top martial arts. It's time to bring an end to your arrogance. Shakuan placed his hands together, giving it the appearance of a palm knife. Golden glow surged in a manner that could split a mountain. Immediately, the power of nature began to gather around Shakuan's hand. This activity immediately caused the expressions of the countless number of people around to change. Everyone knew that this Shakuan was clearly planning on using his finishing blow to completely get rid of this problem called Lin Dong. This video will end here.